Hey girls, Tiffany Dawn here with my hubby, and I've gotten a bunch of requests over the last year for a video about finances. And not only like how we do our finances in marriage, but also just like some tips for like healthy finances in general. So we're not experts, but we'll share what we've learned. So we'll start off by telling you what life was like before marriage and after marriage. And then we'll go into 5 tips that we have for good finances.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate. I had a scholarship to go to college, so I didn't have any student debt. So I had been working for a couple years. I liked to think of myself as a frugal guy. You know, I knew what I made, how much money I made each month. I would pay all my expenses. I would give some money away, you know, save a little bit for retirement. And then with whatever money I had left, I would just see what happened. And until I met Tiffany and we started to get married and combine our finances, I didn't really know what happened to that money.
I, on the other hand, did not make as much as he did, and I did have student debt. And so basically everything I made went to my loans, and I would get so stressed about money. I had such a hard time sleeping at night, and like even into the first year of our marriage, I had a hard time like letting go of that anxiety. And I'd feel so guilty about like any money I spent on myself, and so I wouldn't spend money on myself. And then I would like get to a point where I was so desperate to like go shopping that I would like binge shop on one day and like spend more than I would have if I'd just like budgeted for it. And so when I met James, he was really encouraging, like, sweetie, you need to like treat yourself. Like, you're making these milestones on paying off your loans, like do something to treat yourself then. And I'm like, I can't, I have to put that money toward another loan. And he's like, no, you can treat yourself. So when we got married, the first thing we did was start just tracking for a couple months, like where our money went. I don't care about going out to eat because I'm like, food disappears. I would rather have new clothes, so.
And I, on the other hand, was sort of shocked at how frequently Tiffany wanted to go buy clothes. I mean, I buy new clothes like twice a year.
Oh, whatever. That is so not true. Mister, I want to go to the Pendleton outlet tomorrow.
Oh,
you
don't even get me started.
But you are like,
I haven't been in a long
time.
But I do.
Yeah.
I think about it even more frequently. So what we started to do is we would each get the same amount of money in cash each month that we could spend on whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And the other person was not allowed to criticize how their mate spent the money.
And it was like guilt-free money.
Guilt-free. Yeah.
Like, which was so good for me. Like, this is my money that I'm supposed to spend on myself.
And we also had money that we set aside for joint. Like if we went out to dinner together or we wanted to do something together to go on a date.
Yeah.
We could do that.
So yeah, so let's get into our 5 tips now. So for anybody, whether you're married or single, these are things that I think can help have good financial health. So the first thing we recommend is just starting off with tracking your money, just so you like know where it's going. And that can give you an idea of like a realistic budget to set for yourself.
Yes. I used to sometimes try to set a budget in a vacuum. How much should I save? How much should I spend on this? And just make up numbers. That's not realistic. You got to start with what you're doing now. Find out where your money goes. Find out how much you're spending on clothing, how much you're spending on going out to eat in a month, how much you're spending on lattes. Figure out where it's going.
So step 2 is prioritizing. So certain things need to get higher priority. So for us, the 3 highest things are loans if you have them, and saving, which can also include like retirement fund, but it should start with just an emergency fund really in your bank account in case something happens, and giving. So we are a huge believer like in tithing each month and just like giving to God, and like he gave us everything we have, so like giving a portion of it back to him, that's like really important to us.
A good tip that our financial advisor gave us is the 60-20-20 rule, which is however much money you make, let's see, 20% should be going to savings, 20% is discretionary, and 60% is your fixed necessity expenses.
Which we include tithe in that 60.
Housing, food, your phone, things like that. Things that you're going to have that are somewhat fixed expenses each month. His advice was you need to reduce your discretionary spending to 20% of what you make. And if your necessity spending, like your car payment or your rent, puts you above that 60%, you need to get cheaper rent or a cheaper car. You have to do something to shrink those expenses.
Yeah, which brings us to tip number 3, which is simplify. So taking the expenses that are not absolutely necessary, and even the ones that are, see if you can bring them down, but getting rid of some of the other ones. Maybe it's magazine subscriptions or Netflix packages or whatever it is. If you're like strapped for cash every month, get rid of some of those.
I'll be the first to admit, I really like nice things, like good quality, handmade, artisan things. And I think that it's so easy to want more things and want bigger things and want nicer things, and it's never going to satisfy. And I
Yeah.
think part of what I've asked God to do in my heart is say, you know what? I'm okay having something simpler so that I have the opportunity to give more. And so like recently we had to get a bigger car because we have baby Minnie. Our car only had 2 doors. And so we needed a car with 4 doors.
4 car seats.
And I had kind of wanted this kind of more luxurious SUV, and we thought about it, and I really just didn't feel peace about it. And so we ended up getting a car that's just as good. That's a really great car, but it was a couple $1,000s less.
It was a lot more than that.
And I feel like that was the right choice because it gives us the opportunity to give and to be generous towards others.
And that brings us to the 4th thing, which is that's where we created our budget. So we started simplifying our expenses and prioritizing our expenses, tracking them, and then we created a budget. And our budget is not like a hard and fast rule. I know for some people it is, and that works for them. For us, it's a little more flexible. We have like some built-in leeway. It doesn't cover everything we make every month. And so if there's extra, it can go to savings, or sometimes there's a lot of baby showers and bridal showers in a month. And so in those months, it's fine. Like we have the leeway built in. And we check in with each other pretty much every month. I'm the one who really keeps the budget because I love spreadsheets. They're like my favorite thing.
Crazy.
If I'm stressed out, I want to make a spreadsheet. And so like we'll check in though about it and just talk like how are we doing on it? And it can be kind of fun. You can even go to a coffee shop and have a coffee date with yourself or with your spouse and look at your budget over coffee and just make it a little more like enjoyable. And for some people, they use the cash method, which is what a guy named Dave Ramsey recommends. And so for each line of the budget, they have cash that they use to pay it. We don't do that. We use credit cards because we love the points, and that's how we travel. Like we've gotten so many free plane tickets to and within Europe from our travel points on our credit card. But we also don't keep a balance on our credit card. We pay it in its entirety every month. And so we're like, it's all fitting into our budget.
It's taken us a lot of trial and error to stick to our budget. Some months we do great, and then the next month we don't. And
Especially
so
on
it's
groceries.
it takes constant effort and constant attention, but overall we're getting better.
Yeah.
And so at first I used to think, oh, this isn't even working. We should just scrap the whole thing. No, we kept powering through, and that was really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then our last tip is just to keep learning. So like for us, we have a financial advisor who we meet with once or twice a year. And that's been super helpful just to like talk about, retirement plans and what kind of insurance we want and we don't need. And I mean, James knows a lot about insurance already, but
it's so helpful to have a third person who's good at asking, well, what are your financial expectations? Well, what are your financial expectations?
Goals? Yeah.
And that's
do you wanna
really
buy a house?
helpful. Yeah.
And the other thing you can do is taking a course like Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, which you've taken, right?
I have. Yeah, it's excellent.
And so that kind of talks about how to like be a good steward of the money that you have. So girls, I hope that can help in some way, and comment down below what helps you with good money management. And I can't wait to see you again next week. Bye.